All right, guys, welcome to this page of the notes. Let's go ahead and take a look at another problem here where I'm asking you to find a bunch of information about a parabola. And hopefully you've taken a second to look at this equation, and you'll notice that now we have the other type of parabola, the one that opens horizontally. And the way that you would know that is by looking at it real quick and seeing that the x is now to the first power, and it is the y that is squared. The y is squared. So I know just by looking at it, I don't even have to do any algebra. I know that this is going to be a horizontal. It's a horizontal parabola. It's either going to open to the right or to the left. We'll figure that out in a second. This will be in standard form. It's not written in standard form yet. I'll have to solve for x, which we'll do down here. And then I'll need to complete the square to get a, h, and k. So here we go. Let me rewrite the problem for you right down here, and let's get some more practice with completing the square. The equation I gave you was 2x minus y squared is equal to 4y plus 10, and we need to go ahead and solve this for x. So I'll add the y squared to the other side. I got to get the x by itself. Yes, that means you're going to need to divide everybody by 2. Everybody gets divided by 2 because algebra says whatever you do to one person, if I got to divide this by 2, got to divide everybody by 2. So I wind up with x is equal to 1/2 y squared plus 2y plus 5. All right, now that I have it, x equals, right? This is standard form. And again, right away, here's what I can see. X equals standard form. It's x equals. It is the y that is squared. So like I said above, we have now just confirmed it is a horizontal parabola. And I now also know my a is positive. So that means, just look at the formula sheet. If a is positive, it's going to open to the right. It'll open to the right. We'll go back and fill that in a second. If you've got your page in front of you, you can just jot it down up there. But I need to complete the square to figure out a, h, and k. So let's just jump right into it. This is the third time we have done completing the square, so we should be able to go a little bit faster this time. I need to create a workshop, and at the same time, I need this leading coefficient to be a 1. Let's do both steps at the same time. X is equal. I'm going to factor out a 1/2. That's going to leave me with a y squared. 2, I have to pull a 1/2 out of this as well, right? Because it's the 1/2 y squared and the 2y that I'm going to put inside the parentheses. When I pull out the 1/2, pull out the 1/2 here, leaves me with a y squared. 2 divided by 1/2 should leave you with 4y plus 5. Now what I'll do is I will complete the square. I will add b squared over 4 inside, subtract b squared over 4 on the outside, but I got to put back the 1/2 that I pulled out. We should be able to do all of that in one shot, right? Here's my b. 4 squared is 16. 16 divided by 4 is 4. So I'm going to add 4 inside, subtract 4 outside, and put back the 1/2 I pulled out. So here we go, all in one shot. 1/2 y squared plus 4y plus 4. That's b squared over 4. Added it inside. So algebra says to keep everything balanced, I must subtract it on the outside and put back the 1/2 that I pulled out. Here we go. This is a perfect square trinomial. That's why we call it completing the square. It'll factor into 2 binomials that are the same, which means I'll just write it as that binomial squared. So it's going to have to be 2 numbers that multiply to 4, sum to 4. They have to be the same number. Well, 2 times 2 is 4, and 2 plus 2 is 4, so it'd have to be y plus 2. Then out here, I'm going to have plus 5 minus 4 divided by 2 would be a negative 2. And so we get x is equal to 1/2 y plus 2 squared plus 3. This is vertex form where a is 1/2. Careful, careful. Look at your formula sheet. Got to be really, really careful of this one because it is a horizontal parabola. H and K have switched places. This is now my k, and I have to take the opposite of it. Please notice on your formula sheet, it is a minus. It's y minus k. Y minus k. Well, how do I get a plus 2 in here if the formula says y minus k? Well, the way this becomes a positive is if k is a negative 2, right? Because y minus a minus 2, the minus of minus turns it into a positive. So, just please be very, very careful when we go horizontal. That k and h have switched places, and now it's the k that's going to be the opposite. So my h is 3, right? It's just whatever's back here. Keep the sign it is. And the k is minus 2. So 1/2, 3, and minus 2 are the value of a, h, and k. And again, you don't even have to remember that, right? It's written on the formula sheet. Just don't get going so fast that you don't pay attention to the details. The details are written there. You can see them. I'm going to give you the formula sheet on the test if you're taking this class with me. Just don't get going so fast that you kind of skip over the details and start making assumptions you shouldn't make. Watch out for that switch of h and k to get those values. Now, it's the completing the square that's the tricky part. We've done 2 of these already. This is the 3rd one. Once you know a, h, and k, guys, it is plug and chug into those formulas on the formula sheet. So I'm just going to give you the answers that I got for these by plugging and chugging into the formula sheet. You just check to make sure that you get the same thing that I did, so that we know that you're using the formula sheet right. But again, remember, it's plug and chug, so as long as you don't fat finger something on your calculator, you should be good. We said A is positive, so we know that it opens to the right. The vertex is now going to be at HK, but it's 3, -2. The axis of symmetry is now y equals k, so y equals -2 is what I get. The focus is at h, right? Watch it, it's h plus 1/4a. Now that 1/4a is added to the h instead of the k, right? That's the difference between being vertically oriented and horizontally oriented, but just, again, it's on the formula sheet. Just look at the formula sheet, follow the formula sheet, you should be good. I get, for the focus, I get 7/2 -2. And then for the directrix, again, it is now the directrix, it's x equals, instead of y equals, it's now x equals, right? Because my parabola is oriented horizontally, opening to the right. So my directrix will now be a line x equals, and it's x equals h minus 1/4a. So I wind up with, oh, sorry, I want x. X equals, when I did it, I got 5/2. Check to make sure that you get that as well, 5/2. That would be h minus 1/4a. Again, you know h and k, so plug and chug. And then the length of the lattice rectum is still the absolute value of 1/a, so I get 2 for that. So there we go. Those are my answers using the formula sheet. Plug and chug. Don't fat finger something, and you should be good to go. All right, I've got one more of these problems where we'll go ahead and complete the square and answer these questions, so head on over to the next page of the notes. I'll meet you guys there.